We talk about a lot of different business and management simulators, and I often bring up Mad Games Tycoon because I really enjoyed being able to build a game studio.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I agree. I haven't played that one, but I know it's really popular and I've heard you talk about it.
It's one of my more favorite ones simply because it is so incredibly in-depth. And recently, there was another game that came out that is also incredibly in-depth, and it's all about building a computer manufacturing company. So it kind of falls into the same thing, only as opposed to doing software, you're doing hardware.
Let me guess. That's the game that we're looking at today.
That is the game we're looking at today. It is called Computer Tycoon. Hi guys, this is Moriarty.
And this is Brax.
And this game is very early, very alpha, and very, very interesting.
Interesting is such a vague word. What do you mean?
It is in-depth enough that you're able to go in and really build out a computer mega giant multinational corporation. But it is also, because it's only being made by a single developer, kind of a little bit obtuse. It's hard to get into, but once you're into it, it's very natural. There's a lot of game parts that if you're an Eve player or somebody who really likes spreadsheets, you're gonna dig it. But if you're looking for something that's super flashy, this is probably not the right thing for you.
Fair enough. When is this supposed to take place?
It starts in 1980 and it goes all the way to 2030. I think it's 2030, 2035. It goes all the way out until the transhumanism singularity event happens. It's very, very long period of time and it's super, super neat. I really, really liked this game. I am still playing it. I've actually been helping out the developer at this point with a whole bunch of different bugs and things that I found. And so far, he has changed everything that I have said and every problem that I've had to make this game better, and it is better. I'm super excited to play this. It's a really, really neat game.
Well, that's encouraging that he's open to change and improvement.
Well, yeah, and again, it's just one guy, and I really appreciate the story. He has one of those stories that, like, you see when we're talking about, like, the guys who show up at those kind of shows on TV, and they're like, yeah, so here's my story, and you're like, oh, wow, he has a good story. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really, no.
So, like, okay, there's America's Got Talent or whatever. Like, it's not just about having the talent, it's also, like, the good story.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, like, they come from a certain environment, or they grew up a certain way that makes them interesting, and it kind of adds to their character, even though it's not a character, it's who they really are. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a really good story. The guy's in, I want to say it's Belgium, but it could be Bermuda. He's not in America. He's in some European country, and I know Bermuda's not a European country, but go with it for a second. So he's in some European country. He's one guy. He has put his entire life savings into this game. Everything's wrapped up in it, and he is spending literally 18 hours a day coding it. And this is it, right? So it's one of those kind of stories where you're like, man, I totally appreciate that story, because that's dedication and it's devotion to the craft, as it were. You know what I mean?
It's what game developers should be like. In a dream scenario, he would also get rich, and it would be a really awesome story of rags to riches. And,
exactly.
It's just that wonderful dream, perfect idea of what it would be like when you're a kid and you think, when I grow up, I would like to make video games. And maybe this guy's actually doing it,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, look, maybe he's going to be that guy who's like, look, I spent all of my money and I built this company and I built this thing and I designed this stuff and I spent 18 hours a day programming it so that the fans would love it, and it was a wild and incredible success. So, like, yes, I hope that that's true, and I like that story. I think it's a good story. And the game itself is a little rough around the edges, but if you like the management business simulator type of games, it is super, super neat and super in-depth. You start in 1980, and your job is, here you go, you've got a little bit of money, go invent all of computer history. And you've got competitors, you have to buy your way into various countries and figure out what they want as far as preferences towards ease of use, or if they want quality, or if they want this, or they want that. You have to do all of the research and build the computers and market the computers and build the manufacturing and handle the logistics, everything from pricing down to quality of product to whether or not you want to, put older chips into new computers, but just do that because it's cheaper and you don't have to research and you don't have to put money into building them on your manufacturing line. It's really in-depth and it's super, super neat if you're into that kind of thing.
So it really is more about micromanagement than it is going into an interface and hiring managers to do stuff for you. Like you personally are making all of these decisions. Is that what you're saying? That like you control every single aspect yourself?
Correct. There's no managers. There's nothing like that. You never hire a staff. It is all you. You make all of the decisions. And interestingly, all of these decisions are based a little bit off of your own personal knowledge of computers. So, for example, when the technology comes around, you can choose whether or not you want to put money into Blu-rays or if you want to start researching Betamax. And if you decide to go with Blu-ray, obviously you're going to have a much more technologically advanced computer to put out onto the market. So paying attention to what you're producing and what you're researching and also what historically worked well will give you a heads up on your competition in this world.
That's actually really neat. I mean, it seems like if you don't know the history of technology that much that you would be at a disadvantage, but too bad, right?
I don't think you're necessarily at a disadvantage because it's still gamified, so you're never going to put your money into something that you can't sell, as it were. Like, you can still sell a computer that has a Pentium in it in 2027 if you wanted to. You're just not going to be technologically advanced. You're going to have a hard time competing with other people who are using 128 multi-core molecular CPUs. Like, you're at a serious disadvantage compared to those people.
Maybe you could have a nice market in third world countries for that Pentium, but
and that's the thing, you still can. That's what's cool about this game, is that you can absolutely do that. You can decide that you're going to focus exclusively on third world countries and you're going to sell them cheap computers. You're going to focus only on poor countries. You're not going to go in and try and compete with the American or the British markets. You're not going to try and take over Russia or Australia. Instead, you're going to focus on Uganda, and you're going to make computers that just Uganda people would really want to buy. And you can actually do that. You can make a lot of money doing that. It's a totally viable option.
That's one of the coolest things that you've said about this game. I love stuff like that. Anything that allows me to feel ownership of it and feel like I'm doing things my way and I'm making this business work in a way that I thought of, right? Being the mastermind of it. So you saying that is really making me want to give this one a try.
Well, here's the nice thing about this. It's a $10 game.
Really?
You're not talking about a $20, $30, $40, $80 game where it's like, oh yeah, he's put a lot of love and work in it, but he's overpricing himself. No. If you're the guy who says, you know what, I want to make computers for the Falkland Islands, Equatorial Guinea, and Antarctica, and that's it, you can pay $10 and you can be that guy. Now, again, the game is a little bit shaky. It's made by one guy. It is not exactly going to be the smoothest when you're getting in there. You've got to be prepared for that. But it's also not broken. It's just a little bit rough around the edges. So if you're okay with a little rough around the edges, but also super in-depth, then absolutely, this is a great game.
Yeah, totally. The business model that you just mentioned with the Falkland Islands and Antarctica, and you can do that. Can you fail at this game? How easy is it to go bankrupt or to just completely fail?
It is forgiving to a point in that the game will not immediately kill you off. If you go bankrupt, you have 1 year from the day you go bankrupt to develop profit. So if you are negative, you have 1 year from the day you go negative to bring yourself back into the black. So you don't instantly lose. And you can make tactical decisions where you're saying, I have X number of dollars. I need to upgrade my manufacturing. I need to upgrade my logistics. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me money every every single day until I'm able to introduce this new computer, right? So you can decide to do that, go negative for a short period of time, up to 11 months and 29 days, and as long as you're profitable by the end of that, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's good, because I have played business simulators before that it just out of nowhere it will tell you, oh, you're bankrupt, and that's the end of it. And I can't stand that because it's not really realistic. You should have some awareness of the fact that you're not doing well, you need to improve. And I don't know if this game has stuff like this, but you know, the ability, if I'm in the red, I have a year to get out, maybe I can go take out some loans or something until I can get my business back on its feet. I like that way of playing business simulators more than, you know, it just says all of a sudden, well, your business failed, now you have to start over. Because those types of business simulators seem to go too fast almost. Like there's a fine line in these games between being too slow and too fast. And I like to be warned of stuff, and I like to be informed about everything as much as possible. So I'm glad you said that.
It's got a lot of opportunities there for sure. I really, really enjoyed this game a lot. I think it is incredibly, incredibly cool. I have had so much fun building up my empire, as it were. I was able to turn my world thingy. I was at one point $15 million in debt. And by the time I had quit the game, because I had reached a point where I'd found a bug and I needed to tell the developer, hey, there's this bug that kind of ended my game for me because of the way that I was playing, and I just couldn't go any further. I ended that run with $2.7 trillion.
From negative 15 to positive whatever you said.
$2.7 trillion.
That's a nice swing.
You can absolutely play it how you want to play it, and you can do all sorts of very neat things. This game is super, super cool, and I absolutely 100% recommend it. It's got so much neat stuff there, and the guy is completely devoted to this game. He is going to continue to work on this game. There's been a patch every single day since the game came out, and every single day the game has gotten just that much better.
Well, kudos to him. I like to hear that. I like to see indie devs that are working that hard, especially considering it's just him. That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So there you go. I recommend it. It's $10. That's practically a steal for the amount of content and the amount of hours that you're getting out of this. It's one of those games that you will continue to go back to if you like this style of game. You'll put 3-4 hours into it at a time. It'll suddenly be 3 o'clock in the morning and you'll go, man, I don't know where anything went. What happened. So if you're into that and you're really looking for it, I think this is a fantastic, incredible option for your $10. There you go. That's my recommendation. I recommend it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to look into it so I can go take advantage of third world countries. If you guys are into that sort of thing as well, then be sure to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch another one of those videos that you see in the corners. This has been Brax.
And this is Moriarty.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.